Part 99. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1005. During these hours of fighting, the blockade around Kesha was the tightest. People like Yan were just held back and had no advanced combat power to trouble them. During this period, the Tiangong and Styx parties planned several god-killing operations against Kesha, but all failed. Not only some of the main gods of civilization fell, but also Huaye's direct generals. They left with the glory of killing the holy Kesha in their arms, and finally fell under the silver wings of the King of Gods. But this is not without any achievements. Even if Kesha is extremely powerful, she will inevitably have a few more wounds on her body. However, in the face of the powerful recovery power of the sacred body, these wounds cannot have the effect of weakening Kesha. If you expect to send these unworthy minions to consume my energy, then I tell you that I can spend several days with you. Kesha's words echoed in the ears of everyone around her, causing the remaining civilized gods to grit their teeth. In fact, the Shinayun plan has progressed to this point, and both the Styx, the Heavenly Palace, and the Merlot Heavenly Court have suffered heavy losses. But the only thing Styx and Tiangong cannot allow is for Holy Kesha to leave alive, which will cause a devastating morale blow to Tiangong and Styx in the future. If the God Meteor plan really fails this time, Styx, Tiangong, and the participating God-making civilizations will all suffer losses, and will be liquidated by the Righteous Order in the future. But if the banner of the Righteous Order of Holy Kesha collapses, the situation will be different. The Righteous Order will fall into turmoil, and the Heavenly Palace and the Styx will step on the corpse of the King of Gods onto the stage of the universe, responding to 100 responses. Seeing that no one responded to her words, Kesha turned around and sat back on her throne as the King of Angels. Even though the palace wall behind her had long been reduced to ruins, it still did not affect Kesha's prestige as the King of Gods. Obviously Kesha was sitting on the throne below, but the gods felt that they were the one being looked down upon. Taking advantage of Kesha's majesty, the people present couldn't help but look at Huaye, who was the leader. Huaye's face was expressionless at the moment, no longer as aloof as before, and he looked at Kesha as if he were a real king. As long as he kills her here, the throne of the King of Angels will be his, and everything he has lost will be back, including those beautiful female angels. King Huaye, I have used the big clock to complete the Holy Kesha Battle Data Model Library. You only need to follow the prompts of the big clock to defeat her, and I will also be there to assist you. Now everyone is waiting for your decision. If you win, you will be the new King of Angels. If you lose, you will have to return to your Edge Star field to spend the rest of your life. Maybe Merlot Heavenly Court won't even give you this opportunity this time. Huaye exhaled heavily after hearing this, and incited his angel wings to slowly land on the sky blade. Oh, you actually plan to play in person, Huaye, your current behavior can finally make me look up to you. But are you ready to face me, the King of Angels? Kesha's eyes were full of scrutiny, which made Huaye feel uncomfortable. Kesha, there's no need to talk about these nonsense, and don't put on the airs of being the King of Angels in front of me. In terms of qualifications, I am your king. Oh, you really know how to put gold on your face. If you were really qualified to be my king, I wouldn't be sitting in this position now. Okay, forget the unnecessary nonsense, I'm tired of your face, just die. Before Kesha finished speaking, the two silver wings floating around were already cutting towards Huaye. Carl's voice sounded in Huaye's communication at this time: redefine matter, silver wings, anti-dark energy. The next moment, Kesha's silver wings lost control and sank directly into the sky blade at her feet. Kesha frowned slightly. But Huaye's confidence was greatly increased at this moment, and he stretched out his hand to draw the Wang sword in his hand, and the dark and unknown energy attached to the sword. After completing the preparations, Huaye stepped into a shallow pit on the ground, unfolded his angel wings and rushed straight towards Kesha. Kesha did not panic, and immediately changed the operating mode of the silver wings, dispersing them into hundreds of silver blades and shooting at Hua. Carl still used the old method, remotely using the void engine in Hua's body through the big clock to redefine the silver blade and attach a temporary anti-dark energy concept to it. This caused Kesha, who operated these silver blades through the weapon engine, to immediately lose contact with them, but this time there were too many, and Carl had no time to redefine them all. Therefore, there were still more than a dozen swords rushing around Hua, but Hua seemed to predict the future and knocked away and destroyed all the silver blades that were strangled towards him in advance. Under the erosion of void energy, Kesha wanted to recontrol and transport these silver blades and eliminate the void energy on them. Fortunately, she gave up operating them and once again transported new silver blades and silver wings. Hua, who was gradually closing the distance with Kesha, had never had such a comfortable fight before. When attacking his silver blade, the big clock would immediately calculate the best evasive route and blocking sequence for him. Therefore, the seemingly dangerous silver blade and silver wing cutting are actually the least threatening. During these hours of fighting, Kesha's techniques for operating the silver wings, including subconscious reactions, were compiled into a database by the big clock. Based on the database, Kesha's next attack methods and techniques were calculated. Seeing this, Kesha also understood. Her combat data had probably been thoroughly studied, and now she had no time to modify the silver wings operating algorithm. Fortunately, Kesha stopped taking control and handed over the control to the backup automatic defense system. She herself picked up the king's sword leaning against the throne, and the flame bombing was instantly ready. Wang Ming, which was surging with blazing fire, and Wang's sword, which was surging with dark energy and was slashing down in Hua's hand, collided with each other, and with a bang, a circle of blazing energy impact spread out. The corpses lying around were turned into ashes in an instant. The ground within a radius of 100 meters was cracked and rolled up, and there was no flat place to be found. The angel throne behind Kesha finally collapsed in this collision. Kesha frowned and looked at Hua, who was unharmed, and then moved her gaze downwards. She found that the dark energy on her sword was being sucked towards the weapon in Hua's hand, and she understood the principle. How about Kesha? The silver wings you are so proud of are useless, how can you fight with us? As soon as Hua finished speaking the above words, Kesha's left hand, surging with fiery energy, pressed on his abdomen, and then a violent energy explosion directly blew Hua hundreds of meters away. Kesha spread her angel wings for the first time in a long time and was about to pursue her, when a square barrier enveloped her. Construct void barriers to counter dark energy and bioenergy. Kesha swung her sword but failed to break it immediately, and immediately started the secondary biological engine. Solving in progress, solving successfully, redefining. The newly constructed void barrier instantly turned into energy debris and disappeared. Compared to Carl's redefinition, the secondary biological engine only needs to restore the temporarily distorted physical laws, so it is faster. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1006. During the short period of time when Kesha solved the void barrier, Hua had climbed up from the ground and rushed out again. On the way, he held his left hand in vain, and the blue energy gathered into a sphere in an instant. Kesha, on the other hand, held the sword with both hands and completed the calculation of the flame bombing algorithm in an instant. She waved in the air at the rushing Hua and pulled out an ever-expanding waning moon-shaped energy sword energy. But in the next second, Hua broke through the sword energy and the blue light ball in his hand suddenly exploded, and the void energy swept in all directions instantly. Kesha couldn't help but frown slightly and use the sub-biological engine to resist. At the same time, she quickly collected information about Hua's void energy impact and was able to quickly construct a suitable shielding algorithm. Carl, who supported Hua, knew very well that at the level he and Kesha were at, any method was time-sensitive. Although the void energy was powerful, the energy composition sequence was dead and would soon be replaced by a sub-biological engine. Kesha cracked. Therefore, this battle must be fought quickly, without giving Kesha any chance to breathe, otherwise all of Hwaye's abilities will be seen through. After her first flame bombing was broken, Kesha was ready to complete the second flame bombing in her hands before Hwaye could get close. Following Kaisha's thrust, the flame bombardment turned into a raging torrent of energy and shot out, cutting into Hwaye in midair like a giant sword that sliced through the sky. Hwaye's eyes widened slightly, and he quickly fell downwards to avoid the torrent of energy sweeping over his head. But the fleet used to blockade the Sky Blade was not so lucky. Two beast-shaped civilization warships that were close to each other were swept away on the spot and turned into burning balls of fire. As for Hwaye, who was facing Kesha head-on, it was naturally even more uncomfortable. Kesha attacked her before she landed. Seeing this, Hwaye shouted directly, "You are watching a show over there." Boom! Hwaye was shocked and fell to the ground. Kesha's sword in the air pointed at Hwaye and dived directly. Hwaye quickly hid to one side and swung out several energy slashes at the same time, but they were easily broken by Kesha and exploded into scattered energy particles. Facing Kesha's powerful attack, Hwaye could only block with his sword. "King Hwaye, don't keep dodging Kesha's attacks. As long as you restrain her for a moment, we can launch a fatal blow to Kesha." Faced with Karl's salty words, Hwaye really wanted to say, "You can do it yourself." But he also knew that this was impossible, so he simply gritted his teeth, fought to get a wound on his chest by Kesha, and kicked Kesha away. The next moment, Hwaye directly started the Void Engine, and the preset black hole construction program began to run. In an instant, a spatial singularity took shape in front of Hwaye's open palm. The terrifying gravity immediately began to absorb the surrounding matter. Kesha raised her sword and started the biological engine, directly sending out a jet of energy into the imitated black hole that had not yet formed. The unformed mimetic black hole in Hwaye's hand collapsed directly, and all the material absorbed just erupted to the surroundings in an instant with the explosion. Both Hwaye and Kesha were pushed back tens of meters by the shockwave generated by the explosion. Hwaye was completely at his wits' end now. His black hole engine had no effect at all in front of Kesha. Every time he used the black hole engine, it would be neutralized by Kesha. Karl had been paying attention to the development of the battle situation, and he was very distressed when he saw Hwaye looking like he didn't know what to do. But soon Hwaye gave him a surprise. As the king of Heavenly Palace, Hwaye finally remembered that he was different from Kesha. Kesha's guardian angels were dead and injured, but she still had the Heavenly Palace guards. Although many died before, that was when Kesha had silver wings. Kesha's silver wings are now in vain, so why don't she ask her soldiers to join them? Thinking of it, Hwaye simply gave an impassioned speech on the communication channel. "Warriors of the Heavenly Palace, Holy Kesha is now at the end of her power, her silver wings can no longer attack, and the sacred realm has been suppressed. Now is the time to kill her. Whoever can kill Holy Kesha will have the position of Marshal of Tiangong in the future." The Tiangong Imperial Guards, who were still hesitant after hearing Hwaye's order, immediately became excited upon hearing this, and their morale, which had hit rock bottom before, barely recovered. In fact, anyone with a clear mind can see that Kesha, who was suppressed by King Hwaye and the god of death Karl, was much weaker than before. But even when the victory is determined, the surviving civilized gods don't want to take risks. If they unfortunately fall before victory comes, wouldn't it be a loss? Moreover, the main gods of various civilizations do not want the name of the one who killed the holy Kesha, because everyone knows who killed Kesha and will become the main revenge target of the Merlot Heavenly Court in the future. King Hwaye of the Heavenly Palace has a great family and is not afraid of the revenge of the Merlot Heavenly Court. However, their family's financial resources are too thin and they cannot afford the angels' liquidation. Seeing the dense crowd of male angels swooping down from the sky, Kesha sneered. Hua, that's all you have. After tens of thousands of years, you still haven't changed your old habit of cherishing your life. Kesha didn't stop her. She held up her royal sword and let the Tiangong guards occupy all the space around her. The next moment, several cross swords stabbed at her. Kesha avoided important parts and allowed the blades in the hands of the Tiangong guards to pierce her armor and sink into her body. Seeing Kesha being pricked into a hedgehog like this, the Tiangong Imperial Guards felt a little ecstatic and could hardly believe their eyes. The holy Kesha was killed by them without any resistance. But the next moment, Kesha's lowered head slowly raised, and she swept the king's sword in her hand and unleashed an extremely solid flame sword energy. Several Tiangong guards who were close to Kesha were cut in half and fell to the ground, letting out ear-piercing screams. Kesha, on the other hand, pulled out the cross sword that pierced into her body, and the golden particles appeared in the wound, and the light returned to its original state in an instant. What the hell is this? Even the god-killing martial arts can ignore it? Hua was a little frightened when he saw this scene. Carl was afraid that he would shrink back, so he explained. This is the latest scientific research result of the angel civilization. The fourth generation divine body, which the angels call the sacred body. Even if the body is blown to pieces, it can be reassembled in an instant. It cannot be killed by conventional means, including god-killing weapons. Then isn't Holy Kesha invincible? Hua asked subconsciously, but Carl gave a negative answer. Of course not. Your black hole engine was born to fight against the sacred body. As long as the weapon in your hand can hurt the sacred Kesha, the void energy endowed with the concept of black hole can swallow everything including sacred atoms. Hearing this, Hua couldn't help but look at Carl. This grandson was well prepared. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1007. Keep going. The weapons in your hands cannot cause fatal injuries to Kesha. You just need to attract her attention. The Tiangong Imperial Guards, who were shocked by Kesha's recovery ability, immediately changed their attack mode, no longer attacking forcefully but engaging in harassing fighting. This made Kesha very annoying. She was actually not very good at hand-to-hand combat. From the time she started the rebellion, she was followed by a group of battle angels who were good at fighting. There was no need for her, the Legion commander, to go into battle in person when she encountered an opponent. After becoming the King of Angels, she neglected training in this area because of her silver wings. Therefore, even though the opponent was just a group of ordinary male angel warriors that he could usually crush with a snap of his fingers, Kesha was struggling to deal with them. But even so, relying on the characteristics of the sacred body, Kesha exchanged injuries for lives, and many Tiangong guards were still killed by her. When Kesha pierced a heavenly palace guard angel who passed by her with her sword again, the other party actually grabbed her weapon and refused to let go. When the other male angels around him saw the opportunity, they immediately moved forward and nearly 10 cross swords with a red glow thrust towards him. Kesha repeated her old trick, and the flame bombardment calculation was completed with her free left hand, compressing it into an energy sphere with a surface that was constantly undulating. With a loud bang, the male guard angel who rushed towards Kesha was blown away before the smoke of the explosion dissipated. Hua raised his sword and rushed in, slashing Kesha's Wangming above her head with one stroke, causing a burst of strong energy impact. Hua increased the energy output, and the energy surging on the sword in his hand became more and more violent, quickly swallowing the dark energy on Kesha's weapon, making it impossible for her to gather energy. At this time, a wormhole suddenly opened behind Kesha, and void bullets shot out from it. When Kesha noticed the wormhole forming behind her, She pushed Huaya aside, turned around and struck the void bullet with her sword. The void engine was destroyed before the void bomb could deploy, and the void matter inside exploded to form a powerful wave of void energy that swept across the entire field. Kesha, who was closest to it, was stunned for a moment, and then the sub-biological engine solved the dark energy that invaded her sacred body. The Tiangong guards, who had not been affected by the void energy in this short period of time, had already rushed around Kesha and raised their weapons to attack. After Kesha regained consciousness, she subconsciously raised her sword to block, but a Tiangong guard on the right saw Kesha's flaw and fell with his sword. Half of Kesha's sword-holding arm was cut off and fell to the ground together with the Wang sword. Seeing this, Huaya was overjoyed and rushed to Kesha, ignoring the flame bombing brewed by her remaining hand and pressing it against his head, and pierced Kesha's abdomen with the royal sword in her hand. With a puff, the Dark King's sword emerged from the cloak on Kesha's back. She showed a hint of pain, but she still pressed Huaya's head hard into the ground under her feet, and then there was a fiery bang. The flames exploded. Huaya's painful screams rang out over the wide area communications, but judging from how energetic he screamed, it was probably not life-threatening. In fact, this was the case. Kesha was unable to continue. After the attack, she staggered back. She struggled to pull out the jet-black king sword that had pierced her abdomen and threw it aside. Looking down at Kesha, she saw that the wound on her abdomen was like an invisible black hole, constantly absorbing the sacred atoms that made up the sacred body. Kesha originally wanted to use the sub-biological engine to resolve the dark energy in her abdomen, but after thinking about it, she finally gave up. Doing so would only prolong her death for a while. After observing the surroundings and seeing the broken angel throne, Kesha staggered over step by step, turned around and sat on it. There are no Tiangong guards around to block Kesha's movements, because Kesha is not dead yet, and maybe she can help a few backers before she dies. Huaya pulled his head out of the ground at this time. One cheek was covered with hideous burns. When he touched it, he immediately let out a gasp. But Huaya couldn't care about that at the moment. She watched Kesha's figure gradually become illusory and declared wildly, "Kesha, starting from today, your order of justice will be overturned. Next, it is my turn to establish the order of the heavenly palace." Following Huaya's declaration of victory, the Tiangong imperial guards cheered warmly to celebrate this hard-won victory in killing the king of gods. "Have you turned the page, maybe? But I believe that my justice is not so easy to be destroyed, so you can try it and see if you can destroy my justice." Not many people paid attention to what Kesha said while sitting on the broken throne, but only Karl's projection silently watched Kesha's figure completely dissipate and be swallowed up. Seeing this, Karl bowed to the throne where Kesha was sitting before disappearing, and then turned around and disappeared on the sky blade without hesitation. The war gods on the Styx side also received the order to retreat, and entered the evacuating insects one after another. In the cave, there is no intention to get involved in the pursuit of the remaining sacred wings in the heavenly palace. The moment Kesha's figure completely dissipated and the sacred knowledge treasure house was disconnected, the sacred knowledge treasure house also entered a shutdown state because it lost its user. But it did not stop for too long. He 11 used his authority to restart the Holy Kesha Knowledge Treasure House and resumed the computing power support for all the angels of the angel civilization. But even so, the impact of the shutdown of the Holy Kesha Knowledge Treasury is still very serious, which has caused the Skyblade fleet and the border angels in the star field on the edge of the Order of Justice to fall into an extremely passive situation. The main base of the Border Guard Angels fell, and the Commander-in-Chief of the Border Guard Angels could only lead the Border Guard Angels to break out and join the Skyblade fleet, and withdraw within the Order of Justice in order to preserve the strength of the Angel Legion. The consequence of this is that the angelic civilization has lost an important portal that blocks the edge of the known universe and the world of justice order. The Tiangong group can enter the justice order unscrupulously without worrying about their own escape route being cut off. The other is the downfall of Holy Kesha, the king of gods, who led the angel civilization for tens of thousands of years and expanded the angels from a nebula-level civilization to the one that now dominates nearly half of the known universe. The fall of the legendary king of justice and order. The most direct consequence it brings is that the chains tied around the necks of all careerists have fallen off. The war between the Thane Empire, Langzing, and Hayden civilization in the Pocket Nebula further escalated, and the Thane Empire began to invest star-killing weapons in the war. A colonial star of the Hayden civilization with a population of nearly 1 billion was destroyed, and hundreds of millions of people were killed in the planet-destroying explosion. This was like opening a Pandora's box. The Hayden civilization also retaliated by conducting a so-called scorched earth operation against a remote resource star of the Thane civilization. Tens of millions of workers and their families were killed in the orbital bombardment that covered the entire populated area of the planet, leaving very few survivors. Seeing that the Thane Empire and the Hayden civilization were already fighting, Langzing immediately announced its withdrawal from the war. However, the Thane Empire directly forcibly occupied the Langzing people's colonial star and resource collection star. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1008. For a while, the remaining Langzing people felt huge pressure, not knowing who they should lean on. They tried things that would not offend both sides, but it didn't work at all. In the world of the Just Order, the Tiangong group led its servant army, the Shima Empire, and the Tianding Star People's animal civilization fleet invaded the civilization of the world of the Just Order. Huaya has only one attitude towards killing all those who do not surrender, until only those who are willing to obey him as the King of Angels remain. After slaughtering several fiercely resisting civilizations, a civilization in the world of Justice Order finally chose to seek refuge with Huaya. They pushed down and dismantled the statues of Kesha and the sacred wings enshrined in the Temple of Faith, and carried Huaya's statue into the temple. Huaya greatly appreciated such a civilization that was aware of current affairs, and he did not hesitate to spread Tiangong's low-end super warrior technology. As a king, Huaya knew very well that Maro Tianding's heritage was still there, and he was not without any ability to resist in the face of the Tiangong group's strife. Therefore, Huaya used both kindness and power, taking the opportunity to win over the civilizations on the fringes of the Justice Order that the female angel was temporarily unable to care about, and at the same time spread a message to the entire known universe. The general content is as follows. The king of male angels, King Huaya, the orthodox king of angels, has killed Holy Kesha and is about to overthrow the just order established by him and return the angel civilization to the era of the heavenly palace. Anyone who is interested is welcome to join us in this grand event. The Chaiwa star system, Shenzhou, and Xiangbing company plans have been started for several years, but it is not until today that they are truly on track. Brother, I can only send you here, and you have to do the rest by yourself. The taxi driver waved to Ge Xiaolun, who got out of the car and was carrying a large marching backpack, and then drove away. Ge Xiaolun watched the taxi driver disappear at the end of the road, and then turned to look at the college built in the mountains in front of him. He saw 4 large gilt characters written on the top of the imposing door. Super Seminary. After admiring the majestic gate of the academy for a while, Ge Xiaolun then walked toward the entrance with his chest raised and politely saluted the soldier standing guard at the door, who immediately returned the salute. Li Bai Ge Xiaolun then walked through the entrance, and what came into view was the vast playground, the magnificent teaching building, and some buildings whose purpose was unknown. However, after serving in the army for several years, Ge Xiaolun learned a truth. Someone would tell him what he should know, so he did not inquire out of curiosity, but walked towards the dormitory building marked on the college map. Entering the dormitory building, the dormitory administrator was an old man with gray hair on his temples. He glanced at Ge Xiaolun and said, "Young student, this is your dormitory access card. It has the house number on it. Remember to take it?" It will be very troublesome to replace it if you lose it. Thank you, uncle. Ge Xiaolun took the access card and went to the second floor to look for his dormitory one by one. He quickly found his dormitory 042, swiped the access card, opened the door and walked in. The dormitory is a very spacious double room with a separate bathroom and wall cabinets. The overall decoration style is modern and simple, and one of the beds is already occupied. The iconic tofu cubes made Ge Xiaolun feel a bit familiar. The room was also very clean, with almost no other debris except necessary daily necessities. When Ge Xiaolun put down his big backpack and started to pack his things, the door to the room was opened, and a young man wearing a tank top and shorts with a slicked back hair walked in. It seems that you are my roommate. Fortunately, my name is Xian Zhao. Xian Zhao stretched out his hand with a grin. His eyebrows, which were originally serious and murderous, were no longer so eye-catching as his smile. Hello, I'm Ge Xiaolun. Compared with Xian Zhao's carelessness, Ge Xiaolun seemed much more steady. Although he didn't speak much, his meaning was expressed clearly. After a brief chat with Xian Zhao and getting acquainted with each other, Ge Xiaolun figured out many things about the Super Seminary. First of all, Ge Xiaolun was the last one to arrive, and he was the last person from the first company of the Xiangbing Company. There was a narcissist living in the dormitory next to them, who kept saying that he was some kind of prince of Dexing all day long. His roommate is a strong man named Lu Chuang who likes to talk. According to Zhao Xian, he is very good at fighting. He has never won an arm wrestling match. I don't know why, but Ge Xiaolun only spent a short time with Xian Zhao, and their relationship became extremely close, as if they had been brothers for many years. Following Ge Xiaolun's report, the first company of the Super Seminary was finally announced. Ge Xiaolun was not given much time to relax. The next day, he and Zhao Xian were notified to gather in a classroom. Although there was no special request, Ge Xiaolun still put on his formal clothes, which were the uniforms of his army. In fact, Ge Xiaolun's feeling was right. When he changed his clothes, Zhao Xian was arranging his navy uniform collar in front of the mirror on the wall at the door. Hey, Brother Lun, you look good in this outfit. Xian Zhao was surprised and said that compared to his soldier's navy uniform, Ge Xiaolun was an officer's uniform. Although he had no military rank, this showed that Ge Xiaolun was an officer before coming to Super Seminary. I didn't expect you to be from the Navy, Mr. Xian. Ge Xiaolun was also a little surprised. The Xiangbing Company was obviously an army establishment, and he didn't expect to recruit people from the Navy. This is because you have little knowledge, Brother Lung. Let me tell you that there is a very eye-catching girl in our team this time. She is from the Air Force and flies a fighter jet. Xian Zhao gestured as he spoke, which looked a bit nondescript when paired with his military uniform. Seeing this, Ge Xiaolun shook his head slightly and interrupted, "Okay Master Xian, stop dawdling, we should go." Seeing Ge Xiaolun open the dormitory door and walk out, Zhao Xian combed his long back, shouted to Brother Lun, "Wait for me," and chased after him. There are 5 men and 3 women sitting in one of the classrooms in the teaching building of the Super Theological Seminary. It can be seen from the uniforms they are wearing that except for Zhao Xian and the girl he said is from the Air Force, the rest are from the Army. While Ge Xiaolun was observing his future colleagues, the person he was paying attention to was actually looking at other people in the classroom. But then the classroom door opened, and a blonde woman walked in with a tablet under her arm. She walked to the podium and introduced herself. "I will be your next theoretical knowledge teacher. My name is Lian Feng, you can call me Teacher Lian Feng. My classes are not many, because you will soon enter practical classes, so you'd better keep what I say next in mind." Seeing that no one raised any objections, Lian Feng nodded slightly with satisfaction, opened the tablet he brought, connected it to the window behind him, and projected a video. A short-inch young man lifted an infantry fighting vehicle and then gently put it down. This immediately attracted the attention of everyone present, because they felt that as a teacher, Lian Feng would not joke with them. I believe you will have doubts when you see this picture the first time, but I can tell you that it is true. The man in the video is one of the soldiers of the Xiangbing company, and he is also a super soldier. The company you will join in the future is such a special group that gathers superhumans from all over China. The plot of Hero Company has undergone a lot of magical changes. If you don't like it, you can skip the chapters that will be updated in the future. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1009. Lian Feng briefly explained the characteristics of the super warrior, and then shared the knowledge about the dark plane with Ge Xiaolun and other people sitting in the classroom. The reason why you were selected is because you all possess super genes, that is, super gene seeds, and depending on the type of gene seeds in your bodies, you will have different external traits. Let me give you the most striking example, Kylan, who was a fighter pilot before coming here. She could complete the advanced calculation of the missile's flight trajectory by relying only on mental arithmetic, and then easily shoot it down with a cannon. And Ge Xiaolun, have you found that your recovery speed after injury is different from ordinary people? And Lu Chuang, your physique has been able to crush your peers since you were a child, and you can knock down a group of people every time you fight. Lu Chuang laughed a little embarrassedly at being said, which made everyone present look at him strangely. That's because I was ignorant before. Now I will never fight randomly. I promise. Lian Feng clapped his hands to signal everyone to stop exploring these meaningless things. By saying this, I believe you will be able to understand something special about yourself. This is just a very small characteristic revealed before the super gene in your body is activated. When you complete the activation of your own gene engine and the super gene is activated, you will find that you will become a Superman. After Lian Feng finished speaking, he saw Ge Xiaolun raising his hand and extending his hand to indicate please. Teacher Lian Feng, when can we activate the super gene in our body? I know that the Xiangbing Company project has been in preparation for several years, but we are still the first batch of trainees to receive training. Student Ge Xiaolun asked this question well, and this is exactly what I want to say next. In fact, strictly speaking, it is still a little early to teach you theoretical knowledge courses. The best teaching method is theory plus practice. So next, I will take you to activate the super genes in your body and start the gene engine. Then your training plan will be taken over by your military instructors. After hearing this, everyone in the classroom, except Qiangwei and Yaowen, felt a sense of expectation in their hearts, because the sense of power shown by the super soldier in the video just now was so strong. And they are all passionate young people who love fantasy. Although their edges have been worn away by their experience in the military, who doesn't expect to become Superman? Seeing the appearance of Ge Xiaolun and others, Lian Feng sighed in his heart. 3 of the people sitting here have the appearance of becoming gods and will be the mainstay of China in the future. Looking at their young looks, Lian Feng couldn't help but recall the demeanor of the Nyoxing god of war and the power of the divine river who once led the Dino civilization. But Lian Feng soon came to her senses. The era of Dino civilization had passed, and now her job was to train these young people who had just embarked on the road to becoming super gods. As Lian Feng's theory course ended, Ge Xiaolun led her to a building next to the teaching building of the Super Seminary, and entered the base dozens of meters underground through a secret door. The walls here are all covered with a layer of metal armor, exuding a metallic silver-gray luster. Along the way, the group encountered many researchers wearing white lab coats. When passing by an area, Ge Xiaolun's sharp eyes saw some jet-black metal armors with different shapes floating on metal platforms. While observing the surroundings, the group followed Lian Feng through an open metal door and entered a room. "Hello, Sir Lian Feng. A young woman wearing a medical uniform with twin tails stood up from her seat and said hello. Yukin, these are the first batch of students from the Super Seminary. They now need to activate the genetic engine in their bodies. Lian Feng greeted Yukin familiarly, and then explained his purpose of coming. Yukin, who had already received the instructions, was not surprised. She walked to a metal wall. After a testing machine embedded in the wall tested her genetic information, the wall opened to both sides, revealing a rather sci-fi looking cabin device with sharp edges. Which of you comes first? Yukin looked at Ge Xiaolun and his group and said with a smile. After a while, Ge Xiaolun walked out of the queue and said, "Sir, I'll go first." Yukin nodded and signaled Ge Xiaolun to go aside and put on a special close-fitting combat uniform, and let him enter the activation cabin. As the door closed, Ge Xiaolun twisted his body a few times uneasily. Zhao Xian and others who followed also stared intently at Ge Xiaolun, who entered the activation cabin. "Don't worry, there is no danger. He will be out soon." Yukin smiled and comforted everyone, telling them not to be so nervous. Since Shenzhou lacks the existence of the main god level, it cannot remotely activate Dino's supergene, so it uses such a backward method. The energy crystals that activate supergenes are provided by the angel civilization, otherwise the Dino survivors would not be able to obtain this kind of scarce material in the universe in a short time. As the first batch of students from the Super Seminary activated their supergenes, China also held a video conference concerning the fate of future civilization. I believe everyone knows the news about the death of Holy Keshe, the king of gods. As the initiator of the meeting, Tokyo stirred up the topic, and the senior executives of China behind the screens nodded. It has to be said that this interrupts all our deployments and we need to rethink our future development plans. A person in charge of the Black Great Wall project said worriedly. Yes, we need to prepare for war as soon as possible. After all, we are also a member of the Angel Camp. In short, the final result of the meeting is to speed up the formation of the Xiangbing Company, and at the same time, China will take the lead to form the Blue Star Space Defense Joint Force. As for the establishment of a unified coalition government, China is not that naive. Before there is a crisis that is enough to destroy the country, there is no need to even think about counting on the various countries in Blue Star to unite together. Moreover, other countries in Blue Star seem to have a lot of hidden trump cards. At worst, when I have enough time to support them, I may have to suffer for their people. The above-mentioned things have nothing to do with Ge Xiaolun and others who have activated their genetic engines. At this moment, they are feeling the changes in their bodies. Among them, Ge Xiaolun and Lu Chuang have undergone the most significant changes, that is, their bodies have become stronger and their bodies have become closer to perfection. This made Xi and Zhao, who had hardly changed, extremely envious. Among them, Yaoan and Qiangui had already activated their genetic engines, so they just watched their colleagues gain new powers, and at the same time they were a little curious about their genetic models. Originally there were 2 chapters today, but something delayed me. There are still a few hundred words left in the last chapter. The remaining chapter will be posted together with tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1010. Although Lian Feng knew that there would be 2 major god-making projects among the first batch of Super Seminary students, she was not sure about the others. At this moment, she was also a little curious and asked, "What supergene models have you activated? Can you tell me?" Report, I just entered a dark world, and there was some voice saying that I am some kind of galactic power. Ge Xiaolun said with some confusion, and asked Lian Feng what the power of the galaxy meant. Power of the galaxy, first of all, congratulations. The power of the galaxy is one of the three major anti-void god-making projects. It is said to have the power to break through fear. Hey, sir, what about me, what about me, what am I, the god of war of Nyoxing? I know what it means, god of war, but where is Nyoxing? Why have I never heard of it? Lu Chuang asked excitedly. Lian Feng smiled and explained. The god of war of Nyoxing is also one of the three major anti-void god-making projects. It is known as the axe that can cut through thorns and thorns. It has extremely powerful combat capabilities, so it is called the god of war. Hearing this, Lu Chuang was happy and muttered in a low voice, "This is good, the god of war is good. I will also be the god of war in the future." Teacher Lian Feng, I'm here. What kind of German star spear am I? Am I a particularly powerful one? Yes, the German star gun is an extremely powerful super gene model. When you grow up, you can fight against gods. Upon hearing this, Xin Zhao walked aside with a grin on his face and was very satisfied. Teacher, my genetic model is Kamigawa Sniper. Kamigawa Sniper, this is also a powerful super gene. Coupled with your excellent shooting skills, it is enough to make you a nightmare for your enemies. Kylan just nodded calmly after hearing this, and then quietly returned to her queue. The last person who came forward to ask was a black-haired girl. She said nervously, "Teacher, my genetic model is Nyoxing Sharp Knife." Seeing that Ling Feng was a little surprised, Rui Mengmeng became even more nervous, wondering if she had let the teacher down. It's also a good super genetic model. You will grow into an extremely powerful warrior in the future. Rui Mengmeng was not a fool. From Lian Feng's words, she realized that her super gene model was not as good as Ge Xiaolun and the others in front of her. Qiang Gui also took a step forward at this time and formally introduced herself. My super gene codename is Space-Time Rose, and my ability is micro-wormhole transportation. Qiang Gui said and demonstrated. She stretched out her hand and a dagger appeared. When she flipped her hand, the dagger disappeared without a trace. Sister Qiang Gui, your ability is incredible. Lu Chuang was very familiar with it and gave a thumbs up to Qiang Gui. Everyone else also looked surprised. I believe everyone knows my name. The super gene is codenamed Heart of the Earth. I won't be able to demonstrate its specific abilities. It is the kind that can transport and manipulate materials and change the terrain. Chen Yaowen said with an embarrassed smile, but the pride in his words could not be hidden. Yao Wen, you hide it well enough. Xin Zhao is most familiar with Chen Yaowen, but he doesn't know that he has already activated the super gene. No wonder he loses every time he fights with him. As everyone's super genes were activated, Ge Xiaolun and others also entered the training. In fact, this was just to speed up their growth and control their soaring physical fitness and intensity during training. Every day, Ge Xiaolun and the others' food changed from meat to an unknown synthetic food. The chef at Gu restaurant said that this was because their bodies were different from ordinary people, and ordinary food could not supplement their daily activities. He also warned them that these foods should not be wasted. They had spent a huge price to produce them. Although this kind of life was tiring, Ge Xiaolun and the others lived a very fulfilling life. When their super gene enhancement speed stabilized, teacher Lian Feng, whom they had not seen for a long time, appeared again. Students, you have been training very hard and working very hard during this period, and I can see it all. But if you want to become a qualified super soldier, you need more than just running every day. Now that your super genes have stabilized, you can also get your own special equipment. Hearing this, even Qiang Gui, who usually has a relatively cold temperament, couldn't help but look forward to it. It was special equipment exclusive to the Xiangbing company, and each piece was of immeasurable value. Soon they came to a warehouse. Lian Feng operated the tablet in his hand, and the 8 sealed metal boxes automatically opened and raised the display racks. Each display rack contained a complete pair of black armor. Ge Xiaolun, Zhao Xian, Lu Chuang, and others were immediately attracted by the armor full of metallic beauty. Seeing this, Lian Feng operated a few more times on the tablet, and the black armor parts on display suddenly flew towards Ge Xiaolun and the others who were wearing close-fitting combat uniforms. In the astonished eyes of Ge Xiaolun and others, these flying armor parts quickly fit onto the special close-fitting combat uniforms they wore during this period. After everyone finished wearing armor, the image of Ge Xiaolun and others changed drastically. Ge Xiaolun and Lu Chuang attracted the most attention. The thick shoulder armor, as well as the armor on the forearms, upper arms, thighs, and calves made them look like the future. Warrior-like. As for the armors worn by Xian Zhao, Yaoan, and Rui Mengmeng, they appear to be light in appearance, and are more close-fitting and more flexible. As for the last Qiangui and Kailan, Qiangui is better. Although she is light, she still has armor on her vital parts. But Kailan is more appropriate to call her a combat uniform than armor, but she is the only one present who is equipped with it. Helmeted. Kailan didn't care much about why she was equipped with a combat uniform instead of armor. She was studying her own multifunctional auxiliary helmet. And Kailan can also understand why she is not equipped with armor, because her position is very clear that she is a sniper, and the armor not only does not protect her, but is a drag. This is dark alloy armor tailor-made for you. It can effectively match the characteristics of your genetic engine to enhance your combat capabilities. Then Lian Feng operated the tablet in his hand again, and opened a weapons display rack on the side of the storage box, which contained several cold weapons that exuded the same metallic sheen as the armor on their bodies. This is your weapon. You can step forward and choose the one that suits you. Lian Feng stretched out his hand to signal Ge Xiaolun and his party to make their own choice, and did not choose forced distribution. Oh, this is all for us. Lu Chuang took the lead and walked up to the weapons display rack to look at and touch them one by one. Then he became entangled, his eyes wandering back and forth between the double-edged axe, the big sword, and the war knife. Kailan simply took down the only black-painted heavy-duty sniper rifle on the display shelf that could be equipped with various accessories. I guess you won't snatch this from me, so I'll just take it away. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1011. Then came Qiangui, who took away the dark alloy dagger very neatly. This small weapon can work wonders in conjunction with her wormhole transportation. My ancestor is Changshan Zhao Zilong, so of course I, the descendant, must use a spear. Xian Zhao excitedly took down the dark alloy spear and started playing with guns blazing. It seemed that he had really practiced it. Xiaolun, what weapon do you like? Lu Chuang couldn't make up his mind and didn't know which one to choose, so he asked Ge Xiaolun on the side. Sword, I'm not afraid of your jokes. When I was in school, I often had a dream about leading an army to the battlefield with a big sword to kill the enemy. Hey, then you are still a general in your dream. Lu Chuang smiled and stepped aside. Ge Xiaolun took the dark alloy sword and weighed it, and it felt very comfortable. That's it, I feel like it suits me. Lu Chuang looked at the remaining three weapons and first picked up the sword and tried it. He found that it was too floating. As for the topmost sword, he simply ignored it. Even if Lu Chuang is a cold weapon idiot, he knows that the halberd is not something that ordinary people can play with, and it is easy to hurt yourself if you are not careful. Finally, Lu Chuang grabbed the only remaining heavy weapon and easily picked it up and carried it on his shoulders. It seems like it's the only one that suits me best. Only then did Yaoan step forward, take the halberd that no one had chosen, and said something. It seems that I am the only one among us who can control it. In the end, only Rui Mengmeng was left pitifully picking up the last dark alloy sword. Cute girl, why do you look like you're about to cry? We didn't bully you. We just asked you to choose and you didn't choose. Lu Chuang said helplessly. Ge Xiaolun and others were similar. Rui Mengmeng, a little sister, was serious about work and had a kind and simple personality, but she was not good at socializing. They usually take care of her, but Rui Mengmeng hasn't changed much. It's okay, you didn't bully me, I like this weapon very much, I really do, I promise. Lian Feng shook his head slightly when he saw this. Rui Mengmeng's character was caused by her family environment. Before she was specially recruited into the army, her family was poor and she had several younger brothers and sisters. When the staff recruiting Xiangbing Company reserves found her, she was considering whether to drop out of school and work because no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't study well. This has created her somewhat cowardly character, but Rui Mengmeng is much stronger now than she was at the beginning. At least she can talk to people properly instead of suffering silently. Seeing that everyone had chosen their weapons, Lian Feng had to admire the influence of super genes on the carriers, because they all chose the weapons that best matched themselves. Lu Chuang chose the black cut imitation, and Ge Xiaolun also fell in love with the dark alloy sword with anti-void components inside. Kailan chose the sniper rifle she was best at, and Xin Zhao also couldn't put it down for the dark alloy spear in his hand. As for the halberd in Yaowen's hand, it was specially prepared for him, and Qiang Gui's dark alloy dagger was customized according to her requirements. As for Rui Mengmeng, the former standard weapon of Nyoxing sharp knife was the war knife. Looking at this scene, Lian Feng couldn't help but wonder whether this was the fate of the super gene carrier, inheriting the experience of the previous one and continuing to fight for his own civilization. Okay, you have all received your favorite weapons. Next, your captain should arrive. Let's go and greet him together. Arriving at the playground where they usually train, the first batch of students from the super seminary lined up in a neat row with weapons in hand, and they were not kept waiting for too long. A military off-road vehicle drove over and stopped not far from them. From it, two men wearing the same style of black armor got off. One of them was holding a war hammer, and the other was carrying a metal gun box on his back. Hello, I am Jegistan, you can also call me Jace, I will be your future captain and will provide you with combat training. This is Shun Yuan, your future shooting instructor. He is responsible for training you how to deal with the enemy's strategic snipers and improving your survivability on the battlefield. Shun Yuan nodded to Ge Xiaolun and his group as a greeting, but had no intention of speaking. In addition to the regular extreme running, the Super Seminary also conducted special training based on Ge Xiaolun's genetic characteristics. Ge Xiaolun and Lu Chuang received physical kinetic attack training, which meant they were bombed every day, from grenades and rockets to self-propelled artillery bombings. Kailan received one-on-one guidance from Shun Yuan, the strategic sniper of Nyoxing, while Xin Zhao continued to become familiar with his overspeed algorithm and become familiar with it. Yaowen was arranged by James to play in the mud, while Qiang Gui continued to study the knowledge of micro-wormhole transportation every day in order to better use her super genes. Rui Mengmeng received the combat training specially designed for her by Justin to develop her self-confidence. Everything seemed in order. The combat effectiveness of each member of the Xiangbing Company was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, good news continued to come from the Black Great Wall project. China is moving towards a space-grade civilization at an alarming rate, and the Dino survivors have also established an all-round detection system outside of Blue Star to prevent unknown enemies from infiltrating. The reason why the Chaiwa star system can be so peaceful is because of its remote location. In addition to the fact that it is too far away from justice, there is also one reason why there are no outstanding civilizations around it. There is no reason to attract the Tiangong army here, but Tiangong is not interested, but the man from Death Song Academy is interested in the super gene on China. How is the super gene recovery work of the three major anti-void god-making projects going? Faced with Carl's inquiry, Snow bowed his head and reported. Report to my god, Dowdy has already dispatched a recovery fleet and will soon be able to reach there via the Pluto bug bridge in the Chiwa star system. Carl nodded but still reminded. Dowdy's mission this time is to recover the supergenetic data of the Noxing god of war and the power of Kamigawa, so that they can retreat as soon as they get the things without causing any complications. I don't want to see that monkey chasing him here in the Styx galaxy. The monkey in Carl's words is none other than Sun Wukong, the patron saint of China, the powerful half-animal fighting god who once defeated the blazing sun. Snow obviously knew the consequences of going too far, so he nodded to show that he understood. I will tell Dowdy and the others to be careful and not to make too much noise. After giving these instructions, Carl asked about Hwaye's current situation. My god, Hwaye has opened the passage from the Edge star field to the world of justice, but he is outside the Angel Nebula and is blocked by the defense line composed of the guarding angels and the Sky Blade fleet, as well as the angels' affiliated civilizations. This did not go beyond Carl's expectation. Kesha's fall allowed Hwaye to shake the foundation of the entire justice order, but angels are not vegetarians either. Even if the entire righteous order cannot be preserved, it can still be done to stop the Heavenly Palace army from Merlot Heavenly Court. Several months have passed since the fall of Kesha. Under the pursuit of the Heavenly Palace guards, the disgraced angel Yan and his group of angels broke out. As soon as they returned to Merlot Heaven through the nearest stargate, they heard the news from the Edge Starfield border guard angels. And the news that the Heavenly Blade fleet was damaged and retreated, and that the Heavenly Palace invaded the world of justice order. The retired TNG King Hexi turned the tide when the situation collapsed, restarted Kesha's treasure house of sacred knowledge, and stabilized the Sky Blade fleet and the retreating border guard angels. At the same time, he used his influence to mobilize affiliated civilizations and angel legions to block the Celestial Palace vanguard force that was heading straight for Merrow Heaven. The two sides fought again in the starfield on the edge of the Angel Nebula. Although they blocked the vanguard of Tiangong, the series of problems caused by the war gave He-11 a headache. Because the angel civilization simply did not have enough troops, Tiangong this time gathered the beast civilization and some god-making civilizations in the known universe to attack the Angel Nebula. Just blocking them has already occupied almost all of Merlot Heaven's standing legions. It can be said that Merlot Heaven's defense is at its weakest now. If Hwaye leads a group of elite troops to make a sneak attack at this time, the Angel civilization will fall into an extremely passive situation. He-11 is considering whether to withdraw the Angel army guarding the border from the Triangle civilization to resist the invasion of Tiangong. At this time, Hexi received news that Angel Yan, Angels Hickson, Angel Leng, and other Kesha guardian angels had returned. King Tianji, I'm sorry that I failed to protect Queen Kesha and let that guy Hwaye. Yan half knelt on the ground, feeling very remorseful. Xian beside him was also obviously hit hard. Only Leng's face was as cold winter. None of us want to see the fall of Queen Kesha, but you came back at the right time. The Tiangong army has been trying to enter the Angel Nebula, but has been firmly blocked by the Alliance of Justice and Order, but this is not a long-term solution. Because our military strength is limited, we will be the first to collapse if this continues, so the current plan is to find a way to resist the Tiangong army. Because Kesha's death was too sudden, there was no time to designate her successor. As a result, the angels fought on their own, with no one submitting to the other. So He-11 had no choice but to step forward and serve as the regent of the angel civilization. Only then did he convince many experienced angels. Otherwise, Hwaye would have already arrived outside the Merlot Heavenly Court. As for whether Yan, the holy left-winger, is qualified to inherit the throne of the King of Angels, even if she is qualified, the result will have to wait until the end of this war. Because without Kesha's escort, Angel Yan simply couldn't secure his position, not to mention that Yan was still charged with being a bad guard, but a considerable number of angels were very dissatisfied with Yan. If Yan cannot perform brilliantly in the future, even He-11 will not be able to keep Yan and Gxin sacred wings despite the opposition of many angels, even if Gxin is her student. Yan heard He-11 saying that Marrow Heavenly Court's troops were insufficient, and thought of the disappearing Marrow guards. He spoke out. King Tianji, before the death of Queen Keisha, Karl used some kind of space transfer method to transfer most of the Merlot guards to the unknown star field. I wonder if the Merlot Heavenly Court can contact them now. We have been contacted, but they are all scattered throughout the universe. The closest ones are more than 1,000,000 light-years away from the Stargate. They will not be able to return in a short time. Hearing Yanyan couldn't help but lowered her head again. She couldn't think of any good solution for the time being. Rather, given Yan's knowledge, when faced with the invasion of Tiangong, she could only think of gathering all the manpower and material resources to fight to the end. King Tianji, I remember that the teacher was also present at the time, and she was given by Huayet. Leng couldn't help but speak out at this time, and He-11 nodded to indicate that he knew about it. That's just a clone created by your teacher that can carry consciousness, but she can't help us for the time being, because she will block the pressure from Karl for us. At least for a long time to come, Karl won't have the spare time to make trouble for our angels. The expression on Leng Vinyan's face softened a lot instantly. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1012. Hearing He-11 say this, Yan, Gxin, and Leng Xin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The name Karl, the god of death, now makes them full of fear. It's not because of his ability to fight head-on, but because of Karl's character of calculating everything behind the scenes. This time, Queen Kesha's fall is largely due to him. How could Queen Kesha be killed by Huaya if her silver wings hadn't been restricted and her computing power hadn't been suppressed? Moreover, Karl can also use a very special void ability to interfere with the movement of angels' dark energy, and can even transfer space. These are extremely difficult abilities for war. As for wormhole blockade, this angel can do it. Generally, wormhole blockade is two-way and cannot be used by anyone, but it is very difficult to crack. After exchanging some details about Kesha's death with Yan, Hexi gave Yan an order. The front line is not optimistic now. As one of the sacred wings, I will send you to the front line to obey orders. Before you prove your ability, you will belong to the command sequence of Nishang, the commander of the Skyblade fleet. Faced with Hexi's assignment, Yan had no objections, and assigning it to Nishang, a familiar angel, could be regarded as taking care of Yan. After all, Yan also knows the senior angel and has a good relationship with him. She once pointed out some problems to Yan. Leng, you should also go with Yan. There is a big gap in Nishang's high-end combat power. Many god-making civilizations have chosen to join Huaye's Tiangong group, so Huaye now has a lot of high-end combat power in the army. I need you to use your own advantages and give me a good blow to their arrogance. Leng nodded to express his understanding, and said bitterly, I will not let go of any of these guys who dare to take advantage of the fall of Queen Kesha to add insult to injury. After Yan and Leng left, He-11 turned his attention to his student Gxin. Gxin, do you have anything else to say to me? Teacher, I'm sorry. I may have failed to live up to your expectations. I feel that I am not qualified for the position of the Holy Rite. When Queen Kesha was besieged by Huaye, I didn't help at all. Instead, I became a burden to some sisters. Gxin said with some frustration that the self-confidence she had originally developed by becoming the Holy Rite had completely collapsed after this period of time. She now has a serious lack of confidence in herself. He-11 also saw Gxin's problem, but she didn't mean to blame Gxin, because this time Gxin faced some scheming old foxes. At such a young age, Gxin did not die in this incident, which is enough to show how capable Gxin is. Seeing that Gxin insisted on resigning from the Holy Rite, He 11 sighed and agreed to her request. From today on, you are no longer the holy right, but an ordinary angel warrior. After hearing this, Xian's expression finally became a little more relaxed. When he found that he 11 had nothing to say, he asked his teacher doubtfully. Teacher, aren't you going to send me to the front line to redeem myself? After all, I am as much to blame for the fall of Queen Keisha as Yan. He 11 thought about how to deal with Xian. After all, it would be a bit cruel to send her to the battlefield as a scientific research angel. Have you really thought about it? Xian, the battlefield is different from scientific research work. It is full of risks. If you are not careful, your life will be in danger. I'm ready, teacher. After this incident, I found that even as a scientific research angel, I must have enough force to protect myself. This way no more sisters will have to sacrifice their lives to protect me. Xian said firmly that the reason why she thought this way was entirely because after Kesha's death, facing the pursuers of the heavenly palace, a high-ranking angel from the Merlot Guard sacrificed his life to protect her, the holy right wing. This matter has always been a knot in Xian's heart, so if she wants to change herself, the first thing she needs to do is to obtain enough force to protect herself. Seeing that Xian was determined and had his own plans and ideas, he 11 no longer planned to stop his student. Okay, then you also go to Nishang with Yan, so that you sisters can take care of each other on the battlefield. Xian nodded and bowed before leaving the mellow hall, leaving he 11 sitting alone on the angel throne. She opened the star map and observed the war happening at the edge of the Angel Nebula in real time through Kesha's treasure trove of sacred knowledge. There was originally a planet with life there, but now the surface of the planet has turned into scorched earth. The Tiangong side used star-killing weapons to clean up the entire planet. Billions of people died in the fires that burned across the planet, simply because the planet refused to surrender its beliefs and resources to the Celestial Palace. This undoubtedly angered the nearby coalition of justice and order, and Nishang immediately launched a surprise attack and destroyed a fleet of the Tiangong army. The Tiangong army that encountered the attack immediately bit the tail of the Tianren fleet. Finally, under the brave attack of a group of affiliated civilization fleets, it repelled the Tiangong fleet. But before the Sky Blade fleet led by Ni Chang could rest for a long time, Huaye personally led his Imperial Guard Corps to press forward and spread the Titan and Tiangong flagships, making Ni Chang feel very uncomfortable. In the past, the angels took the initiative and could attack and defend as they pleased, but now they could only defend, because as soon as they avoided the battle, Huaye would lead the Tiangong army to attack the Marrow planet system. As the former king of the heavenly palace and the biggest enemy of the female angels, Huaye knew very well what the Merlot heavenly court meant. As long as the symbol of the Merlot heavenly court was destroyed, the female angels would become a piece of loose sand. By then, they would not be allowed to be needed by him. Huaye's headquarters launched a fierce attack on the main force of Angel, and the servant army under his command was not idle either. They launched the most bloody and cruel fights with the Angels' affiliated civilizations in several surrounding planetary systems. When the Sarkart's people's most elite guardian knights competed with the new Shima Empire and the Tianding stars for the sovereignty of a planet, they directly defeated the establishment of several guardian knights, and the guardian army suffered nearly 1 million casualties. But the standing armies of the Shima Empire and the Tianding stars also suffered heavy losses. Among them, the Shima Empire, as the main cannon fodder, suffered even greater losses. The battlefields in several other planetary systems are not much different. No matter what the fighting situation is, they are all extremely brutal and the fighting is very difficult. It would be better to say that since they became an affiliated civilization of angels, except for the physical war more than 10,000 years ago, the losses have never been so great. In the 8th month of Huaye's invasion of the world of justice order, he 11 finally made up his mind and, in the name of the regent, issued an order to the border angels who resisted the invasion of the triangle. Abandon all the Angel bases guarding the border, immediately withdraw to the Angel Nebula, reorganize the Angel Legion into Skyblade combat units, form a Skyblade fleet group, and annihilate Hawaii's troops. In fact, before He-11 gave the order, the Angel commanders guarding the border against the triangular creatures wanted to retreat, because they were stationed here for the benefit of the Angel civilization. But now the just order established by the Angels is on the verge of collapse, and even the Merlot heaven is at risk of being lost. Therefore, in the view of the border guarding Angel commander, it is meaningless to continue to be stationed here. Now the order from the Regent Hexi was finally received. Almost immediately, the Commander-in-Chief of the Border Guard Angels issued a retreat order to the Angels at the Border Guard Angel base in each region. A day later, the triangular creature, which was conducting routine testing, wandered into the star field where the Border Guard Angels usually patrolled. They were about to have a good exchange of feelings with the Angels, but found that the Angel warriors did not appear abnormally today. So this group of triangular creatures boldly continued to go deeper into the Angel Guard base. When they arrived at the Angel Guard base, they found that the place was already deserted. The intact and silently sealed border Angel bases tell the triangular creatures that the Angels seem to have left here and given up on guarding this star field. When the mottled Blue Empire received the news from its frontline compatriots, it was still a little confused, but it still sent out more triangles for large-scale exploration. After repeated investigations, the mottled Blue Empire finally confirmed that the Angel civilization's garrison had really retreated, but even so, the mottled Blue Empire still had no idea of sending an army into the known universe. Because the Angel civilization retreated and was not defeated by them, the mottled Blue Empire sent its own elite warriors to form small teams into the known universe to explore the situation of the Angel civilization. These things all happened after the Angels on the border returned to the Merlot heavenly court through the Stargate passage. Under the auspices of He-11, the Angels on the border quickly organized themselves into several Skyblade combat units. With the addition of this new force, the pressure brought by the Tiangong group has been reduced drastically, and the Angels have finally regained a little bit of their confidence as one of the poles of the known universe. Contrary to the Angels, Hawaii suddenly felt bad because he was about to break into the Angel Nebula, but suddenly a Skyblade battle group composed of nearly 10 Skyblades and an organic Angel Legion appeared. Fortunately, Hawaii's publicity during this period was quite effective. Some male angels living in seclusion in various parts of the known universe came to join him one after another after hearing the news of Hawaii's comeback. A small number of them are really old antiques who have lived from the Tiangong era to the present, and most of them are interstellar pirates who have their own plundering fleet and wander around the universe. Of course, compared to these male angels who chose to join Hawaii, more male angels led their families and chose to wait and see, but this was enough to increase the strength of Hawaii's Tiangong group several times. On the other hand, Hawaii's Tiangong group is not as civilized as Merlot heavenly court. They wantonly plunder all the resources of the occupied starfield and exploit the sustainable nature of the conquered civilization. This allows Hawaii to obtain extremely abundant resources in a short period of time. In order to confront the mellow heavenly court, Hawaii frantically spent resources on his own guard corps, and forcibly piled up several elite troops that could compete with the regular Angel Legion of the Merlot heavenly court. At the same time, he did not consider the consumption of resources at all, and frantically recruited interstellar mercenaries to fight in the Bok Nebula. He did not expect them to defeat the Angels, but only asked them to involve the Angels' few troops. This was all for Hawaii. It's earned. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 1013. The rapid expansion of the Heavenly Palace's power was something that even Carl had not expected. Today's Hawaii, not to mention competing with the mellow Heavenly Palace, is beginning to take shape. The power of unity he controls has exceeded that of ordinary God-making civilizations by several orders of magnitude. Even Liang is just a little loser in a remote area in front of him. A large number of civilizations that Styx previously supported have now chosen to follow the Tiangong army to join this gluttonous feast of the Order of Justice. Karl felt that it was necessary to reduce Huaye's influence, otherwise it would not be good if there was a backlash. Even though Huaye was respectful to him now, Karl could feel that he was not an easy character to get along with, and he would definitely not mind eating up Styx if he had the chance. That's why Karl sent Doughty to China to recover the supergenetic data of the power of the Divine River, intending to make a countermeasure device to stop Huaye from being disobedient. As for why he didn't rub one himself, it was entirely because there was ready-made anti-void ability there, so why did he bother to do it himself? All you need to do is take the super gene of the power of Shenhe, modify it a little, and find a carrier, then Styx will have another powerful fighting god. The obedient Ka-Ming is good. I heard that he refused to cooperate with Huaye and took his people back to the Shenhe Tiandao galaxy. It just so happens that some of the genetic technologies of some angels are included in the super genes of the power of Kamigawa. Although they are not 100% matched to the genes of the fallen angels, at least they are not very different. In fact, it was similar to what Karl thought. Huaye had been wary of Karl for a long time, but what he wanted was to wait for him to secure the throne of the King of Angels and then immediately attack Styx and use his crushing force advantage to suppress him. Past. Huaye's idea is crude and simple, that is to blow up everything you own, including the Death Song Academy and the big clock that you are proud of. I see how you can still put pressure on me. But now Huaye is not absolutely confident about whether he can defeat Merlot Heavenly Court, so he is still maintaining a cooperative relationship with Karl. But recently, Huaye has begun to recruit talents, and has begun to establish Tiangong's celestial warship production line, god-killing weapon production line, scientific research department, etc. All of this shows that Huaye is gradually getting rid of dependence on Styx's assistance. At a time when the known universe is turbulent, Binghua in the world of justice and the world of God is in a bad mood during this period. It happened that the world of justice connected with a not very friendly civilization. According to the deciphered information, it was learned that the other party called itself the United Empire. It was a civilization that I don't know how to describe. Because they are keen on colonial wars and have excellent dark matter, teleportation, and space technology, this makes it difficult for the Justice World diplomats who come into contact with them. Because the commander of the expeditionary force of the Justice World couldn't stand the colonial system of the United Empire, and strongly demanded that they be given the iron fist of the Justice World. But Binghua needs to consider whether it is worth it, because the distance is too far, and even with the delivery ability of the time and space gate, it is still not very convenient. If we really go to war with the United Empire, it will be a war with meager returns and high consumption. The only benefit that can be obtained is to unite the weak in the righteous world, and fight against strongism will be more deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, but at the same time it will also create a powerful enemy. Of course, this is not Binghua's main worry. Normally, Binghua would go and observe it in person. If the United Empire really went too far, then she would not mind being willful and destroying this eyesore. United Empire. Your Majesty the Goddess, the Commander-in-Chief of the Holy Expeditionary Force strongly urges the destruction of the evil colonial rule of the United Empire and the freedom of those slave-like civilizations. But I strongly object. The world of justice has finally got rid of the shadow of perennial wars, and all worlds are in a period of rapid development. Our national promotion plan is less than halfway through. If the war against the United Empire falls into a quagmire, our development momentum will be interrupted. The Minister of Internal Affairs of the Divine World stood in front of Hyuka's throne, constantly telling all the disadvantages of launching a war, and crazily accusing the commander of the expeditionary force of disregarding the overall situation. Binghua's head hurt when she heard these words. Today, the Minister of Internal Affairs persuaded her not to launch a war. Tomorrow, the Minister of Military Affairs came to persuade her about the benefits of launching a war. The day after tomorrow, someone came to see him to promote that the United Empire to fight against evil would expand the influence of the righteous world, so that more civilizations can respect us and live in friendship with us. This is also the reason why Binghua has not gone to the known universe in the past few months. He is really involved in the affairs of the justice world. However, regarding the handling of the United Empire, the results will soon appear, because there are reporters in the expeditionary force who are responsible for front-line reporting. All the atrocities of colonial rule by the United Empire have been exposed to the core world residents of the justice world. The ugly behaviors such as neural castration, extraction of planetary resources, suppression of fertility fields, etc. have made the call for the liberation of the weak civilizations ruled by the United Empire growing. The higher. This incident caused the God Seat world to hold a world conference after a long absence. More than 100 representatives participated, and those who were too far away also participated remotely using projection equipment. In the end, after voting from all the worlds, there were more than 100 votes in favor of liberating the civilized worlds under the colonial rule of the United Empire, while the opposing side only had half of the votes in favor. The remaining 80% or so of the worlds have chosen to abstain. Most of these worlds are directly under the jurisdiction of the God's throne world. Unless it is an event that threatens their own interests, they will generally choose to wait and see. After all, the original world family has a great cause, and the battles and some decisions between them are not something they can participate in. For example, this time to liberate the colonial worlds of the United Empire, most of the expeditionary forces are elite legions from the original world. Let them fight if they want. Anyway, there is no need to send troops from directly governed worlds. The original world was not just a lofty slogan to liberate those colonial worlds, they could also gain from fighting this war. For example, the various technologies used by the United Empire in the colonial world, including the dark matter energy reactor technology, are very eye-catching to some primitive worlds. Although the overall scientific and technological level of the justice world is very high, it is concentrated in the scientific research world of Makra and the God's throne world. Some high-tech gadgets with scarce production often need to be distributed and supplied. This led to the original world's desire to start a new business and the idea of going it alone to become stronger and stronger. It happened that the goddess also advocated self-sufficiency in each world, so their desire to go to war with the United Empire was so strong. After all, there is no conflict between liberating the world and obtaining benefits. You can take care of both, so I wonder which world you are not moved by. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1014. After deciding to strike hard at the colonial world of the United Empire, Binghua no longer paid attention to the matter. After all, the huge Ministry of Military Affairs and Internal Affairs of the God's World Organization was not a free man. Binghua began to make preparations to return to the known universe and began to select the personnel who would return to the known universe this time. She did not plan to move the Legion of Justice world. Binghua's temporary idea is to lead an elite angel battle group. After all, if there are many people, the target will be too big and it will not be conducive to action. However, the high-level combat power Binghua selects people with an attitude of attracting everyone. Among them, Ran, Ai Lan, Ming, Hizui and other angels will follow her to the known universe. Otherwise, when the combat power is not enough, people will need to be transferred from the justice world, which will be too troublesome. In addition, Binghua also recruited 20 executors from Semialo to be in the arsenal for support when needed. After reading the details of Kesha's death in the known universe, all the angels in Ran were filled with indignation and asked Binghua to avenge Queen Kesha. Ai Lan was the one with the most resolute attitude. If Binghua hadn't said he would take her with him, she might have taken some of her cronies and ran to the known universe alone to find trouble with Carl. Therefore, the personnel heading to the known universe prepared extremely quickly. Within a few days, Ran waited for the matters at hand to be handed over to his deputies and subordinates. Now that everyone is here, let's set off immediately. Binghua, who was standing on the delivery platform of the Gate of Time and Space, saw that all the angels had arrived. Then he spoke out. Then the Gate of Time and Space began to operate, and Binghua and his group of nearly 1,000 angels disappeared into the blue energy glow of the Gate of Time and Space. Known universe, Chaiwu Star System, China, Super Theological Seminary, after Jigistan, that is, Jace, became the captain of the Xiangbing Company, Ge Xiaolun, and his party lived a very painful life. In addition to anti-attack training, there are also various god-killing tactics, and at the same time, they must be able to dodge Kylan's sniper attack without resistance. But as Ge Xiaolun and the other soldiers responsible for charging into the battle became familiar with Kylan's sniping, this training finally came to an end. Today, Jess Gooding called Ge Xiaolun and his team together again. He stared at them, who were becoming more and more elite, and nodded with satisfaction. "We won't have regular training today because it means nothing to you anymore." Hearing this, Ge Xiaolun, Lu Chuang, Zhao Xian, Yaoan, Rui Mengmeng, and even Qiang Gui couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After all, Kylan's shooting skills are no joke. They have been beaten quite badly recently. Although they will not be injured, they will feel pain. "Captain, can we take a rest?" Xian Zhao raised his hands excitedly. A smile appeared on Jace's face when he heard this. Xian Zhao also smiled happily. Jace's next words immediately made Xian Zhao stunned like an eggplant beaten by frost come down. "We don't have enough time to rest, and alien invaders may come to our world at any time. If you cannot grow into a qualified warrior before this, then when the enemy appears in front of you, how are you going to resist it? Are you using your excuses?" Faced with Jess's scolding, Ge Xiaolun and others couldn't help but lower their heads. "It's good to know that you are ashamed. After all, it is not easy for the country to train you, but don't worry, the next training will be fun. Listen to me and form groups. Ge Xiaolun, Zhao Xian, and Yaoan will be in one group, and Lu Chuang, Qiang Gui, and Rui Mengmeng will be in one group." As the queue staggered, Kylan, who was left on the spot, quickly asked, "Captain, what about me? You are watching the battle from the side. After all, even Shun Yuan praises your shooting skills. There is no need for this kind of training. All you need is the ability to protect yourself. Shun Yuan will teach you after this." After speaking, Jess led Ge Xiaolun and his team, who had completed their grouping, to an area near the Super Seminary with complex terrain and many abandoned houses. "This is your next battlefield. Let me tell you the rules first. You will prepare on both sides of this area. Each side needs to guard a scanning device. If the scanning device of that side is destroyed, that side will lose and they will have to train me for 2 more hours. In addition, you don't need to hold back during the battle. Your weapon power is limited, and the energy shield on your body disappears and you are killed in battle." After hearing Jace's words, Ge Xiaolun thought for a moment and asked, "Captain, are there any other rules besides the above?" "No, there are no rules other than not leaving this area. After all, you can't ask your enemies to tell you the rules on the battlefield, right?" The two teams came to their respective bases in the preparation area and saw a disk of about 1 meter floating on the ground, continuously releasing detection waves to the surrounding area. This is to prevent the battle from ending too quickly, because both teams have fighters who are good at high-speed combat. If they are stolen, they will not be able to exercise. Therefore, the scanning devices of both teams can detect enemies around them. Before starting, Lu Chuang and Ge Xiaolun both formulated simple tactics with their team members and did not choose to fight randomly. After discussing the tactics, Ge Xiaolun left the room where the scanning device was alone. On the other side, Qiangwei and Lu Chuang left the room at the same time, and then separated, leaving Rui Mengmeng to guard the scanning device. Ge Xiaolun and Lu Chuang met unexpectedly on the main road. Neither of them had any intention of hiding each other. They walked openly on the road and it was difficult not to notice each other. Xiaolun, you and I are the strongest in the entire Xiangbing company. I have wanted to compete with you for a long time. Don't talk nonsense. If you want to fight, just come. Ge Xiaolun stood there without moving. His family knew about his family affairs, but he came out alone, and there was no support from his teammates. When Lu Chuang saw that Ge Xiaolun did not take the initiative to attack, he stopped being polite and ran out with long strides. He slightly raised the black cutter in his hand and struck Ge Xiaolun hard. Ge Xiaolun was not afraid at all when he faced the void sword upwards. There was a sharp buzzing sound, and a circle of impact visible to the naked eye spread out and stirred up a burst of dust. The two who collided were shocked by the shock coming from the weapons in their hands, but in the blink of an eye Lu Chuang said excitedly, "Come again." Facing Lu Chuang who rushed towards him again, Ge Xiaolun was also angered and shouted at Lu Chuang, "Quiet!" Lu Chuang suddenly felt his head was covered, and he came back to his senses in a blink of an eye, but at this moment Ge Xiaolun had already raised the void sword and struck hard. "Xiaolun, you don't respect martial ethics. You actually use your abilities." Lu Chuang cursed loudly and at the same time, he put the black cutter in his hand above his head, like a big shield, blocking Ge Xiaolun's powerful and heavy blow. The huge force directly pressed Lu Chuang's feet deeply into the ground. Then bursts of explosions continued to sound, and the spreading impact shook the surrounding houses. Qiangwei, who was sneaking towards Ge Xiaolun's base, felt the movement and couldn't help but shook her head secretly, cursing what a monster she was.